Peter Pan. In the heart of London, in a cozy nursery room of the Darling family's home, lived three children: Wendy, John, and Michael. Their nights were filled with dreams and stories of far-off places and daring adventures, most of which were inspired by their favorite tales about a boy who could fly and never grew up. Peter Pan. Wendy, the eldest, often told her brothers stories about Peter Pan, the Lost Boys, and their adventures in Neverland, a magical island where children never had to grow up. John and Michael were captivated by these stories, and they believed wholeheartedly in the existence of Peter Pan. One night, as they were drifting off to sleep, they were visited by none other than Peter Pan himself. He had been listening to Wendy's stories through the nursery window, and had come to take the children to Neverland. Accompanying Peter was Tinker Bell, a tiny fairy who emitted a soft, glowing light. Peter Pan sprinkled fairy dust on Wendy, John, and Michael, and with a thought of happy things, they began to float. "Come with me to Neverland," Peter invited, and with that, they soared out of the nursery window and into the night sky. The journey to Neverland was filled with wonder. They flew over moonlit rooftops, crossed vast oceans, and finally arrived at the magical island. Neverland was a place of enchantment, with its lush forests, sparkling waterfalls, and mysterious caves. It was home to mermaids, fairies, and pirates, as well as the Lost Boys, a group of children who, like Peter, never grew up. The Darling children were welcomed by the Lost Boys, and Wendy quickly took on the role of their mother, telling stories and caring for them. They spent their days exploring the island, swimming with mermaids in the lagoon, and having sword fights with pirates. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys led them on thrilling adventures, always evading the nefarious Captain Hook and his band of pirates. Captain Hook, the fearsome pirate captain, was Peter Pan's arch-nemesis. He was a cunning and vengeful man, who had lost his hand to Peter in a previous duel, replacing it with a sharp hook. He lived in constant fear of the ticking crocodile that had swallowed his hand and now pursued him relentlessly, hoping to devour the rest of him. One day, while exploring the island, Wendy, John, and Michael were captured by Captain Hook and his pirates. Hook saw this as the perfect opportunity to lure Peter Pan into a trap. He sent a message to Peter, challenging him to a final duel to save his friends. Peter, fearless and determined, accepted the challenge. With Tinker Bell's help, he infiltrated Hook's ship, the Jolly Roger. A fierce battle ensued, with Peter and the Lost Boys fighting bravely against the pirates. During the chaos, Tinker Bell freed Wendy, John, and Michael, who joined the fight to help their friend. The battle reached its climax when Peter and Hook faced off on the ship's deck. The two fought fiercely, their swords clashing under the moonlit sky. Peter's agility and speed were matched by Hook's cunning and ruthlessness. Just as it seemed Hook might gain the upper hand, the familiar ticking sound echoed across the water. The ticking crocodile had arrived, drawn by the sound of Hook's fear. Distracted and terrified, Hook lost his balance and fell overboard, where the crocodile eagerly awaited him. With a final, desperate scream, Hook disappeared beneath the waves, never to be seen again. With Hook defeated, the pirates scattered, and the Lost Boys celebrated their victory. Wendy, John, and Michael were overjoyed to be safe, but they also began to feel a longing for home. They missed their parents and their cozy nursery in London. Peter Pan, understanding their desire to return, offered to take them back. Wendy, with tears in her eyes, hugged Peter and the Lost Boys goodbye, promising never to forget them or the adventures they had shared. With a sprinkle of fairy dust and a thought of happy things, Peter, Tinker Bell, and the Darling children flew back to London. They returned to their nursery, where they found their worried parents waiting for them. Wendy, John, and Michael recounted their incredible journey, but their parents could hardly believe such a fantastical tale. As they settled back into their normal lives, the memories of Neverland remained vivid in their hearts. Wendy continued to tell stories of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, keeping the magic alive. Peter, though he visited less frequently, always watched over his friends from afar, and so, the darling children grew up. But the magic of Neverland and the adventures with Peter Pan remained a cherished part of their childhood. They learned that while growing up was inevitable, the spirit of adventure and the joy of believing in the impossible could stay with them forever. Peter Pan, the boy who never grew up, continued to have adventures in Neverland, always keeping a special place in his heart for Wendy, John, and Michael. His story became a legend, reminding generations of children that, with a little bit of faith, trust, and fairy dust, they could fly to the stars and beyond.